as time flies by, you'll open up your eyes wide. You feel it's gonna go your way. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. Hey, hey, hey.
My name is Nicole King, and welcome back to My Marbella Now. Joining me now is a young man. His name is David Bowerman, and I met him because he accompanied his lovely wife, Kay, who's the president of the Art Society of La Frontera, to a recording interview at the show. And when we were talking, he really is such an interesting chap. Not only has he written a book about his escapades and exploits, he's come here to the program to tell us more. David, lovely to meet you as yourself, to hear some wonderful stories from your cameraman days. What's it like being now on the other side of the screen? Are you sitting comfortably? Are you okay with this?
Yes, I mean, I'm sitting comfortably. It's a very familiar environment, even though I was usually on the other side of the camera.
You have had quite an amazing career. Some people would just dream of being the places, meeting the people that you have, and I'm just so impressed that you've actually put it into a book. You should have been here yesterday, because everything was always needed yesterday.
Well, it's it was the first words that anybody said to you when you were doing news work, was you should have been here yesterday. Well, of course, we were always there too late, because nobody knew anybody was getting murdered or a car accident or whatever. If we did, we'd be psychic, and we could also win a fortune on the races and
so things. How did you get into being a cameraman? Was this something at school you were interested in, things like that, or did you just fall into the job?
Well, no, I mean, I basically became a cameraman because I spent 2 years of my life at sixth form college wasting my time and not doing anything. So when I failed my A-levels, my father said I had to go and get a job. And I opened a newspaper, saw a job, trainee assistant cameraman. I thought, well, that sounds all right. And
oh, how nice, because they're actually going to train you for the job. They weren't asking you to be expert.
Oh, well, it was always the way. Cameramen always had to work as trainees to start. There was a union trainee scheme at that stage. But I did have an interest in photography. I'd always been able to take pictures. I was the sort of family photographer. I even took photographs for the local church and things when I was about 8. They stood me on a chair and I had to take photographs. So
that's why you were bored in sixth form. You just weren't doing what inspired you.
Possibly, yes. I was going to become a pharmacist, the 6th living pharmacist in the family. But,
I imagine at first they were disappointed, but they must have become proud of you when they realised that you actually made yourself a very nice career and met people that I'm sure they were very impressed with.
Well, they were disappointed. That's an understatement. They were horrified. My mother wouldn't speak to my father for weeks afterwards for having issued this ultimatum. And then I think it took 15 years for them to actually come round to it.
Was that how long it took you to be good, in the sense that they were calling on
No,
you
no,
to
I mean,
go to
I've always
places?
worked almost flat out all my life. But by that time, my name was appearing regularly on BBC television.
I was going to say, once they realised that you were getting the recognition, that's what I meant by good, not that you were good in your craft, but that they found that you'd reached a level that they could tell their friends proudly.
Yes, well, yes.
He's not a pharmacist, but he did all right.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, they really were rather disappointed.
So when did your name first appear in those letters and on screen, and you could say, hey, that's me, I did that?
Well, probably in Zambia, when I was working for the government there, but that was mainly on the big screen that came up. And
what were you doing there? Were you working for the BBC, or who employed you?
To start with, I was working in television commercials. That was my first job. The company I worked for made television commercials, and we used to knock out about 2 or 3 a week. So it's quite a fast turnaround of stuff, because we used to have to build some of the sets ourselves, and it was quite a fun life. I did that for 8 years, but the company was it teetered all the time, and it was gradually teetering even further near the edge. So with a young daughter, a baby daughter, and my wife, I had to think about the future, and I saw this advert for the government of the Republic of Zambia requiring cameramen.
It's a bit brave.
And I applied for it, yes. Well, you can imagine how that went down. Another disappointment for my parents.
Oh, yeah, but how did Kay feel about that? I mean, that must have been quite a
I have
change.
to explain that it wasn't Kay, it was my first wife, Pam.
That's what happened with that then.
Well, I'm afraid she died. But,
I'm so sorry.
That's
very,
okay.
Very sorry.
But obviously taking away their grandchild was not a good move. Didn't gain me any brownie points. Anyway, I went to Zambia and I worked there for 5.5 years, and it also broadened my knowledge, because up until then I'd been doing commercials, which is trying to sell stuff all the time. I could make anything you like look beautiful, but it was a very slow process and a very careful process. When I went to Zambia, I was filming more news, documentaries, current affairs type things, and that gave me another.
How does that feel? Because not necessarily you agree with everything that's going on. I'm not saying that you didn't, but in the sense when you see things as a cameraman, there's a big thing, isn't it, that you shouldn't get involved, you're just recording the story.
Fortunately, I had quite a bit of respect for President Kaunda. I mean, when I first arrived, about 7 weeks after I arrived, I went out into the bush with him on my first presidential tour, and at lunchtime they all broke and went into some school or other, and lunch was served. It was a tremendous scrum down, so I thought, well, the food doesn't look that brilliant, I'll just sit back here and wait, Anyway, within 10 minutes, this gorgeous African girl in that national dress came up and said, the president is concerned that you're not getting anything to eat. Cut to 3 weeks later, and I was sitting in Mafui Game Park at the Presidential Lodge, halfway down a table of about 70 people, and suddenly the president looked up at me and said, young man, do you realize you got me accused of looking after minority interests? And that's the kind of, he had humor. The other story that Kay wanted me to mention was I had to film a cabinet meeting in State House, and to get it all set up, I got the gardeners, the drivers, everybody else all sat down the table so that we could set the lights and get it all ready. And imagine the feeling of the guy who was sitting in the president's chair when the door opened and Kaunda stuck his head round and said, a coup, I see.
So he definitely did have a sense of humour.
Oh, he did. And he said, I don't think much of your cabinet.
That's what a relief, no? Because sometimes you don't really know, especially with English humour like me. I'm making flippant comments with you, as English people do, and you come back with replies like, oh, I really should have kept my mouth shut, which is a very big English thing to do, put our foot in it very royally. So that was an experience. When you're setting, then having to produce the images you've recorded, what were the facilities like? I mean, did you have to put together a masterpiece, and did they set everything up for you? What were your...
Well, I mean, we were quite well equipped. The picture on the front is the basic workhorse camera of that era, and
such nostalgia.
That was for doing 35mm for cinema, and we were very well equipped. We had a lot of the latest stuff. We were very well supported, actually, and we had 7 cameramen on the establishment, so it was quite a big operation.
Were these things just aired for the country you're in, or were they then exported to
Well, no,
promote
it was promotion within the country. And in fact, they had 50 cinema vans that used to go around the African bush. And at one stage, we had a delegation came from these cinema operators to say, could they have danger money for showing Focus on Zambia, which was the government propaganda item. It was all right when they were showing the Avengers or something like that, but Focus on Zambia got bottles and cans and things thrown at the screen, the operator and everything else.
So did you realize what you were getting into when you went, or was it just a good opportunity for a job?
Well, no, I realized to an extent. I went to Nigeria, Ghana, to do a series of commercials about 3 years previously, so I had some experience of working in Africa. I went to do one commercial, but the guy there, the producer, he kept me there for about 7 weeks. I thought I'd never get out of the place.
But it was a nice opportunity to actually feel what it was like and get a feel. So you didn't realize then what was coming later on, perhaps?
No. And so, yes, working in Zambia was a good general experience. I mean, we also produced footage for the local television station, and that was 16mm, and we had to process our own stuff and edit it, and it was a very good all-round experience.
Exactly, made you very capable. And after that experience, what made you then leave, and where did it take you?
Well, after 2 contracts, I either stayed on for the rest of my life, which was possible. I was asked to stay on for several more contracts. They offered me 5 contracts to stay on, but I felt that if I didn't get back to England and get established in England, I would never get back, you know.
And what was it like, the homecoming? Were people as accepting of you? Were the jobs lining up? Because it was certainly very different back in the day to have someone with your ability. I mean, now everyone runs around with cameras, but in your professional career, that was certainly not the case.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a very small world. I mean, including the television stations and the BBC, I suppose there weren't more than 20 cameramen in the west of England. And a lot of the ones in the BBC were doing natural history and stuff like that. So it was a very small, the number of people who were doing general camera work, general run-of-the-mill stuff, documentaries, news, drama, they were very limited. So, yeah, I was lucky. I had contact, I knew people, and I think it was very quick. I think within a couple of weeks I was doing something for colleagues that I'd had before in the old company I used to work for. And then that same week I worked for HTV, and then very soon afterwards I started working for the BBC. So
You really made it to the top.
well, it was just the way it goes, you know.
But it's such a good cachet when you say you work with the BBC. Is that where you got to meet Paul McCartney? When did that one? I'm interested to know how that came about.
Well, that,
Because
yes,
it's so different from the different things that you've covered. It's like there's no rhyme or reason. You seem to have gone from so many
yes,
different
well,
things.
there never is, because you never knew what was going to happen. The phone would ring at the beginning of the day and you would be off somewhere, because I was not employed by anybody permanently when I came back to England. I was freelance the whole time. And Paul McCartney, I've been sent by BBC News London, it's a weekend, to cover this amazing story about a ship, quite a big ship, that had managed to land on Brighton Beach and was creating a mini tourist boom in March. Anyway, I did the shots, shot a ship, shot of grateful stall holders, all that sort of stuff, you know, people looking. And I was just walking away, and suddenly somebody came up with the immortal words as a policewoman. She said, "Are you David Bowerman of the BBC?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Oh, can you ring in straight away, please?" Because, of course, we had no mobile phones. Everything was done by phone boxes. So off to the phone box, rang up, and they said, "I want you to get to Lydd Airport straight away." I said, "Do you know where Lydd Airport is?" But from Brighton to Lydd is one of the worst journeys in the world. Anyway, it turned out that Paul McCartney was landing, having just been thrown out of Japan.
Wow.
So, got to nearly at Lydd, told to ring in. I was given a pre-arranged time to ring in. They said, "You're too late." I said, "I told you so." Anyway, they
Should have been here yesterday.
exactly, and so we ended up staking out Paul McCartney's house. And I mean, by that time there was quite a big press contingent, and they were all sticking their long lenses through the hedge at various intervals all the way around. Anyway, we waited all day, nothing happened. I'd taken my family with me on this jaunt, so I had the kids and my sound
Everyone's
recorders.
staking out Paul McCartney's house.
All staked outside of Paul McCartney's house. Anyway, I had time just to get back to my home, which was 200 miles away, and back again to be staking out at 8 o'clock the next morning.
And did you get him in the end?
Midday, I said to the sound recordist, who had a portable television, which was really something really impressive. He was there watching television. I said to him, "A car's just started up in the estate." So sure enough, out came Paul McCartney in his car with 2 bodyguards, and there was just me and my sound recordist stood there. And he said, "Well, where is everybody?" I said, "Well, they're all the way round your hedge trying to sneak pictures of you." So he said to the bodyguard, he said, "Well, why don't you go and round them all up?" And the bodyguard looked at us and looked at Paul, and Paul said, "I don't think these 2 are going to give me any trouble." So we stood making small conversation with Paul McCartney for about 10 or 15 minutes while they rounded up the rest of us. You know.
So that worked out very well for you.
It did, yes.
Do you think he'd recognise you? Like, David, hi, how you doing? And
I
he's
don't
gone,
know,
"No."
I don't think so, no.
But nice that you have got to be that recognition. And although we don't have time for more right now, and I know, unless Kay says there's one more that we have to tell before we finish.
Do Robert Redford.
Do Robert Redford. Do Robert Redford before we go. Tell us about Robert Redford.
Oh, well, I mean, I was working for Italian television and they had a big thing about celebrities. So I had to go to do an interview with Robert Redford. So we set up, we wait, we're ready. He comes in surrounded by these 4 bodyguards dwarfed him. He comes in, sits down on the chair, and the director says, would you like a drink? He said, I'll have an orange juice, please. Very quiet, very shy. So we set up, in comes the clapperboard, and bang, he explodes. And you could see, it's the most graphic demonstration of the camera loving somebody that I've ever seen. As soon as the director yelled, cut.
How strange. First I didn't know he was tiny. And that was funny because actually when you think back to it, a lot of the leading men in the day were tiny. Is it because of the size of the camera scope or something? What was the reason behind so many of them being tiny?
I don't know. It was just the way it was. I mean, you've got Tom Cruise is the current example.
Yeah, and then I remember the other thing, the poison dwarf on the Dallas. Her father was a famous actor, and he used to stand on orange boxes in his leading roles and things.
We used to call them 246s. You could either have 2 inches, 4 inches, or 6 inches, or all of them, depending on what height you were. And that's how we got round it.
So Robert Redford was a complete, nothing like one would expect.
No, amazing.
How very strange. And if you want to know more strange and wonderful things about all the people that this man has filmed over the years, I can highly recommend that you do get this book. You should have been here yesterday. You should have bought this yesterday. And if you haven't, you can buy it today. We'll let you off. David, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you again.
That's been a pleasure. Yeah.
And just where can we buy this?
It should be available on Amazon.
Should be, and if not, let us know. We'll do something about it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're going now to a break. Don't go away. Back just after this.
Judy likes to consider herself a clever young woman, which is why she thought very carefully before choosing her insurance company. Now that she needs it, she's jolly glad she chose Linea Directa, as it looks as if she might have something better to do. Why don't you be clever, like Judy? Call Linea Directa on 952 14 78 34 and see which policy is best for you.
Alright guys, so I'm the designated driver tonight, so I'm going to choose the ZeroHero place. So all of my soft drinks are for free. And if you want to go somewhere else, just check out the Facebook, Instagram or the ZeroHero.es website for any of the bars, discotheques or restaurants on there. I'm happy to go anywhere you want to go, as long as it's ZeroHero.
When I'm the designated driver, I think it's only fair that I get to choose a ZeroHero venue that rewards me with free soft drinks. My friends all get to choose and booze, and they feel safe going home with me. Make sure that you get your reward for being the designated driver. Why pay if you don't have to?
Proud to present ZeroHero. Never drink and drive.
McNulty's is proud to be a ZeroHero partner. Kazatua is proud to welcome the ZeroHeroes. So come on in and enjoy free soft drinks for anyone who is the designated driver. Thank you, Nicole.
Once again, I have the honour, privilege and pleasure of having Roz James in front of the camera. Roz, amazing. Been admiring your Roz Rocks at first that you started during lockdown for AAA, so congratulations. How did it all come about? What was your inspiration to get going?
Lockdown, probably. You know, really, because with lockdown, you all of a sudden it came upon us so quickly. You know, Saturday we were hearing about it, and Monday or Sunday it was coming into effect, and suddenly it was, oh my God, I haven't had time to go to the Frontera and get this and get that and get the other, because we're going to be stuck in for a little while. And then I started, you know, I had a few acrylic paints here, and I thought, I don't know, rock painting might be quite nice. You know, we have to walk the dog, we can pick up a few rocks, and so on. And really it caught on from there, and I sort of perfected over while bringing back my love of sort of painting and drawing, which I haven't done for a long, long time, but it's amazing what you can do when you're retired and stuck in. You bring back a, you know, a sort of a talent.
And then you've branched out enormously now, and canvases, and as I understand it, a full setup in the spare room to dry and prepare your artwork, and now even receiving commissions.
Yes, I am, thankfully, and people that have had commissions from me previously have all been very, very generous, because the whole concept of it is that all I want to take out of the price of the artwork, the finished artwork, is what it's cost me to do it. Not in labour, but in paint.
Canvas and paint.
And paint. That's all I want back, so that I can do another canvas and another paint. Everything else goes to the charity, and the charity at the moment is AAA and will remain AAA to the end of the year. Normally I said I would do 3 to 6 months, but in fairness, AAA need an awful lot of help, as do a lot of charities, I'm aware. And this will go on, you know, I'm not planning to stop anytime soon, but AAA need a lot of help because they've been affected. So I want to continue it for a year in memory of our puppy Brian.
I'm looking at this and admiring this beauty.
This is obviously a huge rock I found in the garden. So that is done in a sort of a Mandela style, so it's all done with forms of dotting. Nothing like obviously the paintings that I'm doing now. The little bees are quite fun. I just fancied doing those.
No, and how wonderful to decorate a table, or
yes, exactly,
all kinds of things.
Things like that. These sort of like little coloured stones. I picked up loads of these off of the beach, and these are done in such a way that I'll show you on this here, and they're actually, the paint is actually laid in water, and they're dipped. They're just dipped in, and the paint adheres to it. So it's quite fun, and you get a very weird abstract, weird abstract pattern from it, but they're cute, and I think
arts and crafts, guys.
I think they brighten up a sort of shady part of the garden.
They certainly do.
Yeah.
And a great way to keep the kids entertained in the summer.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, look how decorative and how much it changes. Even if you're just on a terrace, how to adorn
I mean, they are
space.
beautiful in the garden.
Absolutely delightful. Hedgehog can be commissioned also for your garden.
Exactly.
You're very talented. So now we go into the spare room.
I don't know whether
the den.
Particularly good for you there, but there's a huge selection. Obviously, that's what I've got, rock-wise. Cure for 3 weeks, but this one I'm absolutely delighted in, and they specifically asked for those colours. It's for a bedroom.
Well, that's most pleasing. Well done, you. This one's for you guys.
This one is for us. That one is for us. This one is also a commission. They're wet. They just go here, and of course they're very wet, and of course if they're not dead level,
it spoils
the paint
everything.
will move. And so once they get to touch dry, 72 hours or so, obviously the backing, you know, I mask it because otherwise you'd get it filthy, you know, the backing sort of thing. And so then they go on the shelves because they need at least 3 weeks to cure before they can be varnished. That's why you've got a slight dullness on this. This was a new one that I tried to get like a marble effect.
It worked.
Yeah, and I was really pleased with that. So that's, we called that Burning Love. Don't know why. They just say odd things, you know, to us.
That's very nice.
But this is a new one. Another one that I tried as well. I did it on a smaller one, obviously, to see it. But I'm going to do a big one of those in like a peacocky, you know, almost like a peacock tail, because it lends itself with those colours. There's another one here. That's just yesterday. And that's a green one. Similar.
Let's have a look.
Similar sort of. Yeah. Green one, and then I think I did, so the things stick on them a little bit when I did a, and that's a, but the whole thing is that you can't get exactly the same thing. So every single one
is unique.
Original. Yeah.
Exactly, everyone's a one-off.
And there's obviously lots and lots of different techniques, as you can see on the wall, the different techniques of split colours, metallics, you know, all sorts.
And here we are, back at the start. Lovely tour of the garden and of your work den. Very cool and very nice. Funds going to AAA.
They are, yes.
All profits to AAA.
All profits to AAA, yes. Just a small cost taken out to replenish the paint stocks. Thank you so much for doing this. I know that all of the charities, because hopefully this will go on, and they'll all be Marbella charities. So contact me at the details that you'll see later in the show or on the screen.
Oh, it's like old times.
Yes, please do. And yes, you're only limited by your own imagination.
And obviously you will have no limits. Roz Art and Rocks. Well, that's it for another week. Thank you so much to all my guests for joining me on the programme. Thank you all for watching. And remember, you can see recordings of any of the programmes from the RTV Marbella website or an easy quick link from my website, nicoleking.es. We also all have YouTube channels, but hey, that's a little bit more of a hassle. Don't forget to check out our ZeroHero website with full listings of the ZeroHero partners that are giving free soft drinks to designated drivers. So that's very cool, keeping our streets safer. And check out my column Marbella Moments in the Euro Weekly News. And apart from that, have yourselves a wonderful weekend and join us again next week for more of what's going on in Marbella now. Take care. Bye bye.
We can change if we try.